again, guys. So here we go, rolling into part 2 out of 6 for the RMS Titanic Anniversary. So this introduction might not be as long as yesterday's introduction because I don't really need to explain as much things. Also, I forgot to say it's the 11th of April, so it's the second day of course. So in this video, you're mainly going to be seeing photos of the Titanic and the construction and inside the ship, because all I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be telling you every single fact I know about the RMS Titanic. So that's probably about it for me, so let's roll. Alright, so here we are. I'm going to tell you some facts about the Titanic. So first, we're going to start on the construction. So we're going to begin off with the person that designed the Titanic, Thomas Andrews. So Thomas Andrews was the person that designed the Titanic. And the idea to build the Titanic was actually from the RMS Lusitania, because it was about 100 feet shorter than the Titanic. It was 29 metres shorter than the Titanic, so they wanted to build a ship bigger, I think. Alright, so now we're going to get into construction a bit more. So Thomas Andrews designed the Titanic in 1907, and the Lusitania was actually launched in 1907. Or was it 1906? I don't know. So yeah, and then he designed the Titanic. 2 years later, I think like 15 or 50,000 men started construction on the Titanic on March 31, 1909. It took about 26 months to build the Titanic because they finished their construction on May 31, 1911. So, another reason the Titanic sank was because the Titanic's sister ship, the Olympic, actually, when it was on sail, it had a collision with the HMS Hawke. So, it had a big hole, and then some of the parts they were used to build the Titanic were used to repair the Olympic. So then it was in less shape because there were less parts to make it strong. So now we're going to get into when it was launched. So it was launched May 31, 1911, blah, blah, blah. And then 11 months later, it set sail. So like yesterday, April 10, was the 109th anniversary of its setting sail. So it set sail on April 10, 1912 at noon. It was actually meant to set sail on March 20, 1912, but I don't remember why, but it got skipped forward to April 10, 1912. Yep, so the Titanic was 882.5 feet long, 269 metres long, so it was almost the length of 3 football fields. And then it's 53 metres tall, which is 175 feet. It was 92 feet wide, 28 metres wide. Yep, so now we're going to set sail a bit. Alright, also another thing is that it had 4 funnels, yep, but only 3 operated. Only 3 operated because that's how many they needed, but somebody decided that would look better with 4 funnels. Yeah, so only 3 operated. One was just sitting there, really. Yeah, so now we're going to get sail a bit. So, April 10, 1912, it set sail at noon, blah, blah, blah. And then it set sail with 2,208 passengers, and the captain was called Captain Edward John Smith. It's either 2,208 passengers or 2,208 people, because sometimes it says like 1,300 passengers and 900 crew members. I know there's 900 crew members, but I think it's actually 2,208 people, not passengers. now. So yeah. Alright, so obviously it sets sail now. There's the bridge, the grand staircase, all the other rooms. On the bow it says Titanic. On the end of the stern it says Titanic Liverpool with the England flag. Also, why did I forget to say this? Titanic was constructed in Belfast, Ireland. Yep, but it was built there, I think, because it was the biggest ship in the world at its time, so it needed to be built somewhere where it could fit. So yeah. So Titanic was the worst disaster of time ever, shipping disaster of all time. Also, the Britannic sank, and the Olympic sank. It's two sister ships, and yeah. So Titanic was the worst shipping disaster of all time. Yep. It sank with 2 hours in 2 hours and 40 minutes. Britannic sank in 55 minutes, and the Lusitania sank in 18 minutes. The Titanic sank in such a long amount of time because it only got scraped. So then the water's going choo that way, choo that way, choo that way, choo that way, choo that way. But with the Britannic and Lusitania, there were holes, and then water just rushed through. Like the Britannic had a big hole, which made it sink in 55 minutes, but the Lusitania had a really big hole and made it sink in 18 minutes. So the worst plane disaster ever was the Kaima, and the worst airship disaster was the Hindenburg. Kaima was from 1938 and Hindenburg was from 1937. As you know, Titanic was from 1912, and so it set sail, all going good, until one night, April 14, 1912, at 11:40 p.m, 23:40 in 24-hour time, the Titanic hit an iceberg. They had 37 seconds to avoid the iceberg. If they had binoculars, they would have seen it earlier, but there was some person that had the binoculars, but then someone said he couldn't be someone on the ship, like a crew member on the ship, because there was someone else better, and he forgot to hand over the goggles here. The binoculars, what am I talking about? Alright, so 11:40, the Titanic hit the iceberg. It was sinking 20 minutes on the 14th and 2 hours and 20 minutes on the 15th. So in total, it's 160 minutes it took to sink. It had 20 lifeboats, 65 seats on each, I think, and only 706 survived. 1,502 unfortunately died, and yep. So the boiler room just rushed in water, and at 11:50, Scotland Road E-deck started flooding. And Scotland Road was what made the Titanic tip on its port side, I think. So yeah, so it's all sinking. So then every passenger has to stay inside because the crew members are preparing the lifeboats. 45 minutes later, at 12:25 a.m, all the lifeboats are ready, all the passengers are out, and a crew member orders that women and children get in the lifeboats first. So mostly men died. So obviously, yeah, Titanic was the biggest ship of its time, but it was the second ship in the world to have a pool, and I think it was one of the only ones that let their steerage passengers, third class passengers, have food. Give them food. Yeah. So then, so then it's all going down, and then at 2:05, the bow is under. 2 hours and 25 minutes after the collision, the bow's under. So then I think at 2:05 as well, the last lifeboats launched. So like every lifeboat was like half filled. So yep. So it was all sinking then, and then at 2:12, the bridge was under, and I believe at that time that was when Captain Edward John Smith went down with the Titanic. And then, so 13 minutes after the bow was under, at 6 minutes after the bridge is under, first funnel's collapsed, grand staircase is under, and the second funnel's collapsed at 2:18, 2 minutes before the ship is underwater completely. Boom! The Titanic's electricity goes out, and then it immediately breaks in half, it falls, and then it rises up, and then goes straight, and it still leans to the port side a bit, and then it just goes down, 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 down in 2 minutes. 2 minutes later, the Titanic has gone underwater. Alright, so there we go. So about 8 o'clock in the morning, the Titanic survivors got rescued by the RMS Carpathia. That also sank in 1918. And it was 99 metres smaller than the Titanic, so it's 170 metres long. And it rescued the Titanic survivors. So yeah, it rescued the Titanic survivors. They gave them all blankets and all that. And also, why did I forget to say this? They were travelling from Liverpool to New York. Yep, and only 1% of the icebergs get to where the iceberg was, where the Titanic hit it, arrives there. So only 1% of icebergs gets to the North Atlantic that quickly is basically what I'm saying. So yeah, then Carpathia gets to New York, all passengers get off and they're all cool. And now we go past 1912 and go all the way to 1986. So in 1986, finally, by Robert Ballard, I think that he was the guy, discovered the Titanic wreck. Yep, he found it. They found it in their submarine. I think it was by accident, actually. I think they were just travelling and they accidentally found the Titanic. And then they found the treasures in it, and just went inside and all that. And yes, so the last fact I'm really going to give you today is that the Titanic is still being discovered to this day. Alright, so that's basically everything I know about the Titanic. So I might go soon. Just a couple of quick things. So yeah, we still have 4 more parts, so don't worry. So I hope you learnt something about the Titanic today. As I said, 4 more parts, so don't feel like this is the end. There's still got 4 more parts. We're only a third into this, so yeah. That's about it for me, and we're gonna go now. Oof, 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 ah!